My autistic son was traumatized by a white ally, and I need to share this story. My sons were enrolled in Elements Academy, a private micro school in Braintree, Massachusetts. The micro school, they have less than 20 kids enrolled, and I don't know how many are full time. Although I was a substitute at the school, I never observed more than 20 kids at a time at the school. It may even be 15. I'm not entirely sure, right? But it's under 20. This is an alternative school. We were transitioning out of homeschool. I have a long video about my issues with homeschooling or what they were for us last year, and I needed a community-based school that approached learning differently as my children learn differently. And I wanted them to have a space, a safe space where they felt included and not othered. My older son was 11, and so he was going to be having to go to middle school, and he just was not ready socially for a middle school environment. He still plays with his Legos and his stuffies, and he likes to run outside and play in dirt, and he loves animals and birds specifically. And a lot of kids in middle school are vaping and engaging in all kinds of stuff. He just wasn't ready. So I needed a transition. I needed an option that was different from traditional schooling. And this school offered us a partial scholarship for JB, my older son, and my younger son, Julien, was on a sort of a work scholarship where I was running the school's social media in exchange for his tuition. However, this was on a trial basis. The contract for Julien to be at the school was up December 1st for renewal or conversation. In the interest of brevity, I'm keeping a lot of information out of this video, but if you have questions, just ask them in the comment section and I'll post another video responding to those specific questions. So on November 24th, I informed Heather DiNino, the director of the school, that it would be Julien, my 5-year-old's last week. Julien did not like attending school. Once he was there, he seemed to be okay, but every single day he was crying and saying he didn't want to go, including the weekends. He would tell me on Sunday every day, "What day is it? Sunday? Tomorrow's Monday. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school." To me, the school, particularly this school, is a daycare. It's a drop off place. The kids are safe, but as a daycare, not as a place that has any real like pedagogy, right? I don't want to get too far off track here. He didn't want to go anymore. He wasn't happy. And so I communicated. It was November 24th. I emailed stating that it would be Julian's last week. This was Thanksgiving week. Part of my reason for making sure I got this out now at that time was because the contract was coming up December 1st, which was going to be that Sunday, and they were returning to school that Monday. And I needed to make sure I was getting this done before the contract renewal conversation came up. I was letting them know that I had decided through the trial period I didn't want to do it anymore either. I truly did not want to do it. If I have a child who doesn't even want to be at the school, I can't in good conscience promote it as a place where other people should send their kids. My older son was happy there, 11 years old. He's happy because it's a vibe. It's like a lounge. Okay. He was coming in every day. There's a couch, there's blankets. It was a lounge. It was a vibe. Okay. It was a good time. But of course, I didn't want him there anymore either. But I could not just pull him out. If you know anything about autistic kids, baby, they need some time to transition out of things. So I didn't want to get into anything with the school too. And I have my reasons, and I'm happy to share them in a subsequent video if you would like. Anyway, I told them I was unenrolling Julian. That would be his last week. To which the director responded, "I'm shocked and confused. Shocked and confused. I can be available to talk today in person or by phone." I responded, I believe that evening that I there was no reason to talk because he just didn't want to go anymore. And I wasn't going to, as his mother and as the person who advocates for him, I was making the decision that was in his best interest and also partially mine because his tuition was paid for by my work that I no longer felt I could do in good conscience. There was plenty of reasons why I could not do this in good conscience, including the fact that my son himself did not want to be there. Both boys are autistic, by the way. I don't know if I've mentioned that, but they are. And I enrolled these kids here. They were the only two black kids at the school, black boys at the school. There's one child of color that remains at the school, to my knowledge. My two were the only black boys at the school. It was supposed to be a diverse space for, black, neurodivergent, LGBTQ, all of the things. The director really sold me on what it was and the vision. She talked about decolonizing education. I really thought this was an ally for sure. So when I responded back saying that I was no longer, that Julian just didn't want to attend, and I didn't really get into any back and forth, I was notified almost 24 hours later that it's unfortunate that he doesn't want to go. You should have, this is the email, you should have considered enrolling him part-time or, a different schedule instead of just taking him out like this. We're a community and your family is no longer a fit. So your older son is now being essentially expelled, and this needs to be his last day too. This was on the Tuesday, meaning Tuesday, rather last week, meaning either Tuesday or Wednesday would be their last day at the school. And we were invited to come back, say our goodbyes, and go on about our day. I was shocked. I could not understand in what world somebody would penalize a child who wasn't involved in any of these things because you're mad at me because I'm withdrawing my younger child who doesn't want to be there. It felt almost cult-like, to be honest. The response to me was cult-like, and it really validated all of my very concerns I had about a lot of the things that I observed at the school during my time there. So I responded to her, and I now supplied more details about why I didn't want, what some of my concerns were about the school. I did. To which she responded, I hear you. It looks like we're not on the same page, and we wish you the very best. I'm still, at this point, I'm horrified because I know how upset and traumatized my JB was going to be with this decision. So I'm trying to save it. So I sent a voice memo, which I will play in part here, so you can hear the message that I sent to her, begging her to reconsider expelling JB without a transition plan. In their own handbook, by the way, states that their termination process involves conversations and a smooth transition out. Um, and it also says that we'll be refunded within 30 days of our termination. Here, I'm going to play for you a part of the voice memo that I sent her on that, I believe, Tuesday. Hi, Heather. I am going to try a voice memo because emails maybe aren't the best way to be communicating things, and it's kind of all blown up in a way that I don't think either of us expected. And I would like to have this as a conversation with you at this point, face to face, because it's gotten to this point. But I really want to appeal to you, mother to mother, human to human, to not remove JB as abruptly as we are. I know how you feel. I understand how you feel about me and the way in which I went about removing Julien. But, and I don't even want to say but. I if I could go back and communicate it differently, I would. At the end of the day, all I wanted was to keep things in a way that would keep JB safe emotionally in your care. I did not want whatever opinions, thoughts, feelings I had to impact his experience with you. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. So that just lets you know where the space I was operating from and how I was really trying everything and allow him an opportunity to move out of the school in a peaceful way. When I sent that voice memo to her, the response was, and that it's kinder in her many years of doing this sort of thing, it's kinder to just cut the cord essentially and get him out. And, essentially, when do you want to come get your stuff? So she did not budge on that email. So this all transpired over the course of 2 days, and my son has been expelled ever since. We've not received our tuition back. Their contract agreement or financial agreement that we signed when we enrolled him, because we did pay for the year for him, was that we would receive our tuition back within 30 days. It's been over 30 days and we've not been refunded. And I know people are thinking about, well, you should sue. This is crazy, and so forth. But, it's actually pretty challenging to do that because most education attorneys are not going after small schools, particularly private schools. They really want the money of a public school system. And so there's no real motive for them to want to take on a case like this on a contingency plan. Certainly, if I had the resources, I could probably find one who'd take my money, but that's really not an option. I have filed some formal complaints with the state, of course, and the Department of Justice because my children are both Black and autistic. They are members of a protected class. And so legally, you cannot discriminate against a child. And to me, this is a form of retaliation because my child was fine at the school. And when I advocated for my younger child to leave the school, there was retaliation for that against the other child, another Black and disabled child. These actions to me really highlight the fact that the whole idea of being an ally doesn't really pass the sniff test for me. Very few people actually walk the walk and talk the talk. And I find it unconscionable that anyone would place themselves in the role of an educator, a director of a school, being in charge. What a blessing. What I wouldn't give to have the resources to have my own little school, truly. I'm not going to get emotional. Keep it cute. We're going to keep it cute. And to have that blessing and to use it and be so ego driven to harm a child in this way is beyond. I have posted about my experience in several local Facebook groups. There was one mother who responded because her child attends the school that she loves it there and that it's unfortunate when you're no longer a fit. And they're a small school and they're doing their best, essentially. And I gave them a lot of that grace too. I was like, it's a Sparta, I'm going to give them some grace. But that can't be at the expense of a child. Cannot harm children. Cannot claim to be somebody who loves children, is a proponent of conscious discipline, conscious parenting, and be so ego driven as to have no conscience about retaliating against a child like this. And so I ask you what you think about what happened and what your experiences might be with the allies, because this is not allyship. And I don't believe that if my children were paying the full tuition and were not Black, that this would have happened to them. Discriminating against children is unacceptable. Yeah, that's my story. Ask questions.